Whistleblowing starts with a discovery, something that doesn't look right. Then, a decision.
I know what I witnessed. I watched manipulations of the rules, and I can't just sit back. It had to be done.
I went in my car and went over to the Prime Minister's office, and I said, we need to talk.
Someone who was once on the inside takes on a role he or she never expected, the role of the whistleblower. As the Rio Olympics approach, the anti-doping movement is struggling to assure athletes and the public that the games will be clean. But the most effective weapon in the battle often isn't an investigator or a drug test. It's people who are willing to risk their livelihoods, and sometimes even their lives, to speak out. But why would someone take that risk?
It would be great if I could just be like, I don't care, but I love running. And I want to be able to believe in it.
Kara Goucher has been one of the top U.S. distance runners for the past decade.
And it looks like Kara Goucher wanted to make herself very visible for this good moment.
She signed with Nike, the dominating sponsor in the sport, right out of college. When she was 26, she began to work with legendary runner and coach Alberto Salazar.
When I first started running for Alberto, the only time we discussed doping was when he said, it's not that prevalent, you shouldn't obsess over it.
But over the years, Goucher says, Salazar changed, becoming more driven and intent on winning. She says he never offered her PEDs and that she never used them, but saw things that should have been red flags.
I loved Alberto, and I believed in him. And he never asked me to do anything that made me uncomfortable. And so if he tells me the testosterone cream is here for my heart, I would never doubt it. He tells me, don't panic if you see syringes in the refrigerator. Now looking back, I feel really just, honestly, I feel stupid.
Do you want to play with these?
Sure.
She took time off in 2010 to give birth to her son, Colt. And when she came back, she says she suddenly saw things for what they were. She was convinced Salazar and some of her Nike teammates were cheating.
It was more just like this thing in my brain went, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here.
She left Salazar and the team that year, but it wasn't until after the 2012 Olympics in London, where some of Salazar's athletes dominated, that she and her husband Adam, also a world-class runner, decided to go to the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency.
I told them, I don't even want it to be public. I don't want them to be hurt. I don't want them to even have to stop competing. I just want them to stop cheating. They were like, yeah, well, that's not how it works, but okay.
What were you afraid would happen?
That people would find out I went in there. I was afraid of a lot of stuff. I was afraid for my safety. I was afraid for Adam's safety, for Colt's safety. If people did find out, yeah, I was afraid of a lot.
One of Goucher's biggest concerns, she says, was keeping the news from her primary sponsor, Nike.
They controlled my life, my professional life. I mean, if I lose Nike, then I have a hard time getting into meets. I don't have money. I provided for my family at that time. I mean, they can find a reason to cut me or to reduce me, and then I'm just like screwed.
So she chose to leave Nike in 2013 and find another sponsor, even if it meant taking considerably less money. 2 years later, when there seemed to be no progress with USADA's investigation, Goucher decided to go public. What was the reaction that day?
A lot of people reaching out and saying thank you. People saying you're brave and thank you for talking about this.
Salazar responded to the accusations with a lengthy open letter, denying all allegations and saying they are lying, that he has never violated anti-doping rules, that Nike Oregon Project will never permit doping. Its athletes have never tested positive, nor have they been sanctioned for PED use. What did you think speaking publicly was going to do that just sharing information privately with USADA was not?
That other people would come forward, former teammates, other people that have been afraid would come forward and tell what they know and give USADA a better picture and to, further the investigation.
Whistleblowing is not something that anybody wants. Nobody wants you to speak out.
For Renee and Shirley, her whistleblowing spurred a major investigation into Jamaican anti-doping procedures by the World Anti-Doping Agency. Shirley helped create the Jamaican Anti-Doping Commission, or JADCO, and became its executive director in 2012.
Everybody wants the system, including the sponsors and the public. Everybody wants the status quo to remain. Nobody anxiously wants you to speak out.
When Shirley took over JADCO just before the London Olympic Games, she discovered that during the previous 5 months, JADCO's board had conducted just one drug test out of competition, the time athletes are most likely to dope. She says she was stunned by the lapse.
I honestly believe that the board did not see this as a big thing because they just felt their athletes were clean, everything was okay. Here am I sitting down and saying, no. But nobody wanted to hear me. And in fact, that was part of my problem because they were saying, just shut up and go away. We don't want you talking up because you're disturbing the brand. You're making things bad.
Jamaican athletes who trained in the United States and competed abroad had been tested by other agencies. But Shirley says because of budget, staffing, and oversight problems, JADCO had not been doing its job.
Somebody like Usain Bolt, Shelley Ann Fraser-Price, these are some of the most tested athletes in the entire world every year. But there are another set of athletes that may not necessarily have been tested. And when you are sending 50, 60 athletes to the Olympics, that entire group may not have been tested completely. And so that was the issue I saw.
Shirley resigned from JADCO in February 2013. 4 months later, several top Jamaican athletes were suspended for positive PED tests.
Former 100 metres world record holder Asafa Powell and Jamaican teammate Sharon Simpson have each tested positive for banned stimulants.
Her whistleblowing moment came when she wrote an op-ed in Sports Illustrated that exposed JADCO's lack of pre-Olympic testing.
I was seen as a traitor. A lot of people felt that what I was doing was I was saying that our athletes are dirty. And in essence, what I was doing was speaking out against them. To me, I thought I was speaking for them and for the system.
What started as public criticism quickly became something more serious.
Getting telephone calls, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, threats, whatever. We know where you are, we know who you are, we know where to find you, that kind of thing.
How specific were the threats?
I worked in the political system in a country that I understand what's involved. I know when to take things seriously.
She moved to a more remote part of the country, and she found herself unable to find work.
I have been basically blacklisted. And in blacklisting me, there has been no lifting. It's like an embargo, and no lifting of the embargo.
Kara Goucher says she never felt the life-threatening backlash Shirley faced, but she says she received her share of criticism.
I'm desperate for attention. I need my 15 minutes. Why am I trying to take down the best group? Why am I trying to take down the people who made me who I am? Nice to meet you. Would you like an autograph? Sure. Okay.
The sponsors Goucher had at the time all stayed with her, but other sponsorship and media opportunities suddenly vanished.
At the worst of it, how did you feel then about your decision to speak up?
I have regretted it. I felt like it was going to end my career. U.S. champs last year was just one of the slowest 5Ks I've ever run in my life. I've never been so tired in my life. That's why I always said I'm not going to say anything until I'm done, because I don't want them to steal my career. And then I felt like I was allowing that to happen.
What is it like to take a stance like that and to be told you don't love your country, that you're somehow damaging the same country you represented?
It was very tough for me. There are very few people who want to speak out because the system is so controlled and that there is so much money sitting down there that people don't want to upset the apple cart. And so people like myself, we're expendable.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
In the end, both Goucher and Shirley know their decisions to speak up could be the choice that defines their lives, forced into a role they didn't want but couldn't walk away from.
It was surreal. If you ask me, would I do it all over again? And I would look at you and say yes, because at this stage, I don't know that I would go back and do anything different.
Was it worth it?
There were times where it was not worth it, but in the end of the day, it is worth it because I don't have to carry that around anymore. Carrying that secret around is killing me. It was killing my career, and it just was like destroying my love for the sport. And I don't have to do that anymore.